So I'll begin. Thank you to Kitab Khana and Indian Novels Collective, especially Mansi and Ashwini for organizing this. And I'm grateful to all the poets who've been reading and who will be reading to keep us occupied during this lockdown. I thought I'd start with a poem from my book, A Bombay in My Beat. Bombay is not very busy right now. It's not very noisy. So I just want to start off with a little bit of nostalgia, or anti-nostalgia, you could say. Here's a poem I've never read out loud to anyone before, so I thought I'd try today. And since Mustansir is a professor of architecture, I thought that this would be fitting right after his because of the architectural details within it. BHK Gothic. You cannot stop. You are in a race with the speed of light. No small causes court time to think that it is too fast for you, too hard, too cruel. You can run out of air, but you cannot stop. It burns you in the day, eats away at you at night, fangs out, a medieval vampire. Confront the inertia, the fear, the vulture, or you will lose the spire that diesels you. You aren't asking much. You can find beauty in sweat, the churn, the moment the chai is over. You can walk side by side with heat and grey, potholed ethics, gargoyles of stench, rich carvings of ruthless, and arcs of apathy. If you can get your patch in square feet, it will be your world. You don't just want a footpath to sleep. You want a flying buttress where you can leap to live. You want a home that exudes more than brick and cement. You want tiles where you can plant the sunlight. It is why you will not stop. You cannot stand statue. Well, anyway, with the lockdown, I'm eating my words with this poem. So I thought I'd read a couple of poems that have been inspired recently by what's been happening and the lockdown. So the first one is called Reasoning with Masks. Am I audible for everyone? Yes? Reasoning with masks. The relative value of them lies in discontent. Scientific studies suggest cough per capita ratios are erroneous organized cover-ups, vacillating between improvised walls and right angles to breathing normally in one's skin. Pulling on an elastic band of trepidation is putting into place a metaphor for camera obscura, altering the amusement of light mid-beam, and symptomatic of affectation, fear-mongering, with a visage of biblical swarm proportions. Creature gods inhabit papier-mâché grins, accompanied by the vaudeville pantomime of a gender, or the tinsel streamers of benevolent rogues. A medieval tendency, stitched with trapping patterns in opaque fibers, offering liberation from undisguised corrugations. The bête noire raises its septum on occasion, revealing roots and crossbones under a velveteen hood. Staving off truth serums with the veiled contagion of shame, reaching fever pitch pretenses, where a mantilla of honeyed speech tricks the flowers, Fig leaving is an old ritual to obfuscate the devil. At the carnival of simulated conformities, poulticing vampire flesh burns with sock puppets, or glancing at eclipses in their blinding stare, chasing the singe with the sheaf of a masquerade. The next one is inspired by the wildlife that's out on the streets. And actually what happened when the lockdown began was I started sleeping a lot because instead of being productive, I was sleeping a lot because there was just a whole lot of calm suddenly in the big city. And it's like every cell in my body just exhaled. So there's this poem that has inspired from this, called The Sound in Silence. The sound in silence is a cellular structure unclenching in the weightlessness of terra tranquilliza. The earth turns motionless on tiptoe, gently humming for attention after the helical noise of history is switched off at the breaker. We become unaccustomed seismologists, recording impressions in interstitial drift, measuring all the time it takes for a wave to entrance the shore. The eye of a peacock feather shivering glances on emptied arteries is met with the anechoic kindle of efflorescing sunlight. Days sail into the sighs of a breeze. Oh. Sorry, technology fail. Sorry, technology fail, not finished. Never trust technology. Days sail onto the sighs of a breeze, a wilderness of beads strung on a spell. The air clears its spectacles, incredulous at the mass meditation of ziggurats, dissolving an effervescent tablet of peace into the membrane of a meantime pause. Thank you. I thought this would be interesting to read today because of vessel banging and diya lighting events. Making policy. Verandas ought to be declared the new world order, even though the old houses burned them as articles of constitution would. Not in or outside, like thoughts can be colonials of the brain. Planting slap paint rails one can leap across. Defender of the arts, of tea-sloping, over fanning debates, whether the greenhouse is a curdle film of affected moss. Table-thudding parliament of birding vocabulary, cueing intervention notes of the robin tenderer warbling black exchanges from Red Crest digital feeders. Planters chair Senate, spacing equitable expression in a conclave of civil craft, empiring a democracy of lounging lizards in their folded arms. And the last one for today, but not least. Can you still all hear me? Am I audible? All right. I thought that there was this piece that I had written about my opinion on statues, and I thought I'd build my own, since that's what our tax money is doing anyway. This one is called The Most Ginormous One of All. Since we're humongousing them, crowdfunding their girth over education and farmers' woes and doctors' masks, I'm building my own colossus, the statue of uncommon sense. It will be more hulking than forget, so practical as to flourish, revenue touristy trapping, with chiseled nose for logic, overloading the silly seas, bon sang métaphysique, in plain plaster featitude, a level-headed behemoth holding the scales of down-to-earthy actioning over the bureau of what to do, sculpted shiningly in no nonsense, a surveyor with monster eye slanting and mountainous red tapery, hewn from measured boulders with barge pole arm distances to doltish state resting and dictatory lockdown syndrome, showing a grey-witted finger to the booming opiate markets of religious othering, a mega-torso of heroic, gargantua aesthetic of astute, with much bigness to idolize. Thank you. Thank you once again to Ashwini and Mansi for facilitating this, and for all of you for listening in. And we have Sujata Mathai's video coming up next.